for task 2 plans. So we're going to take a look at some more examples of task 2 questions and plans, and you're going to better understand how to write your own plan and see why a task 2 plan is so important. Okay, let's jump right into our first IELTS task 2 question. And I think it's important for me to say that these are taken from past IELTS tests. So they are very much the type of questions that you might need to answer on the day of your test. Okay, let's read through this question. Many people are finding it increasingly important to wear fashionable clothes. Is this attitude to wearing clothes a positive or negative development? As with any task 2 question, before we start writing our plan, we should identify what type of question this is, and is it asking for an opinion? So on the left, I have the 5 question types. Let's return to the question. So many people are finding it more important to wear fashionable clothes. Is this attitude a positive or negative thing? Do you agree or disagree? So this question is in fact using different language, an agree and disagree type question. So now that I've identified the question type, I can begin to write my plan. You remember from the master structure, the 4-step structure for each question type, that the first supporting paragraph should be for agree, or the positives, and the second supporting paragraph should be for disagree, or the negatives. Of course, the conclusion comes after. Okay, so I think it's time for me to start writing my plan. I'm going to begin with the positives, and I'll write a few ideas down here so that when I come to begin writing, I'm not going to be troubled by not having enough ideas. So the positives of people wanting to wear fashionable clothes. Well, I think the first thing that I would discuss is maybe that it's not harming anybody specifically. So if people want to wear fashionable clothes, they should feel free to do that. And how about we also say people will be dressed smarter, which could be considered a nice thing. I'll just change the font here slightly to fit everything in. Okay. Is there any other positives? I could say also fashion is an important part of the economy. So it's a job for some people. It makes some people money and therefore they have jobs in it. So if people want to wear fashionable clothes, they're actually supporting people's jobs. And now we'll move on to discuss the negatives of people wanting to wear fashionable clothes. I guess one of the main things that comes to my mind is that people will feel more stressed and worried that, are they looking as fashionable as they can? So people may become stressed, unhappy. So that could be the first thing that I discuss in my second supporting paragraph. And is there any other negatives for people needing to wear fashionable clothes? Where are the clothes made? Sweatshops, we could say. So is it, are the clothes made in places where people are paid fairly? We have this phrase, this noun or phrase, a sweatshop, which is a word that is used to describe a place often in poorer countries where people work in poor working conditions to create fashion and clothes for high street shops back in the West. So that's something that I can discuss. Is it ethical where the clothes are being made? Okay, let's read this back. Paragraph 1, not harming anybody. People will be dressed smarter, which might be nice. Also, fashion is an important part of the economy. It provides jobs and works for plenty of people. Supporting paragraph 2. People may become stressed or unhappy trying to keep up with fashion. And also, where are the clothes made? Sweatshops. Is it ethical? Are children or other such people making these clothes? So that's definitely something that I can discuss for the negatives. And I'm also being asked to give my opinion, of course, because this is a agree and disagree type question. So my opinion for the conclusion would be people should be free to wear any type of ethical clothing. So if it's made in the proper way, why not? Okay, so that's my complete plan here for this question. Realistically, if you're in a test, it might take you a few minutes to do this, and it will really prepare you to begin writing. So let's take a look at the next example question. Music is taught in almost every primary school in the UK. What are some of the advantages and disadvantages of teaching children music? Well, this isn't really difficult to work out what question type this Task 2 question is, as it says advantages and disadvantages. And that's exactly right. This question is an advantages and disadvantages question. You should note that you are not asked to give your opinion, so you don't need to include this in your conclusion. Okay, I think I'm ready to begin writing my plan. So in my supporting paragraph 1, I will discuss the advantages. I think some points here could be helps children to express themselves. Helps children to express themselves. And another point could be it helps children, we just put children, learn to take risks. For example, and it's always good to give examples in Task 2. If children are singing, they may be embarrassed at first, and by singing, they learn how to take risks. Okay, that's just a couple of points for the advantages. Now let's take a look at some of the disadvantages. The first thing that comes to mind is often music has less paid employment. So if children are learning it, will they be able to get jobs in that kind of field? Another kind of argument may be that reading and writing more important. I might sort of discuss whether I believe that literacy and reading and writing are more important. And I'll think of one more point here, which could be, let's think, not all children like music. So there's plenty of children that don't actually like music. Do we have to teach it to them? Of course, I don't need to include my opinion in the plan because I haven't been asked to give that. Let's have a read through my plan. So, paragraph 1 helps children to express themselves, be creative. Children learn to take risks. And supporting paragraph 2, the disadvantages. Often music has less paid employment. Should we be teaching subjects to children where there might not be any jobs in it? Reading and writing more important. I could argue that literacy and communicating in language is more important. And lastly, for my disadvantages, not all children like music. Not all people like music. Should we be teaching it to them in a compulsory way where they must learn it? Okay, so once again, this plan has helped me to really understand this question. So I know exactly what the question is asking me, what type of question it is, and I'm able to plan the details in my supporting paragraphs, which will help me structure and answer the question. So I hope you can see that plans are very important, and I think that you should use a plan, write a plan when you take your IELTS writing test. I hope that you found this useful, and I will see you in the next lesson.